Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be on this knife, and this is the Rosecraft Blades Beaver Creek Barlow. And so Rosecraft Blades is a relatively new, or actually pretty new, brand of knives that is from Andy Armstrong and some other people. And he used to work at Smoky Mountain Knife Works, so he did some of the designs for Rough Rider knives and other things like that, and did some of the videos for Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and then, decided to kind of break off and do his own thing. So this is really the pattern that interested me the most of their knives. They do have several traditional patterns. A lot of them are unique in that they are inspired by vintage patterns, but kind of have their own twist. And then they also do have modern knives, also modern designs. But this is the one that really interested me because it is a classic Barlow. So you can see this has the elongated bolster of a Barlow. It has a Barlow stamp. It's actually an etch on that bolster. But it also has a sheep foot blade, which I love. My first Barlow also had a sheep foot blade, and I think it makes for a great Barlow blade. And then it also has these really cool orange bone covers. So I'm kind of forgetting what they called that, and it doesn't say here, so I'm not going to worry about it. But it is a really kind of nice rust type, kind of deep orange color to it, and I do like it a lot. It reminds me somewhat of the color on this GEC 86, the 2AB Barlow. So I do really like that. This knife is in D2 steel, which I really like for a traditional because it's not technically stainless, but it's as close to being stainless as it can be without actually being technically stainless. So you can use this knife and really not have to worry about it too much. Like whereas a 1095 knife, like most GECs, you use it, and if you leave anything wet or definitely anything acidic on the blade, you might get some rust. You'll definitely get patina, and so it's just something to be aware of. With D2, I think that it's easy to sharpen. For me, I'm very used to D2, but it is stainless enough. So I do like that. You can see Andy Armstrong's maker mark on there, and that this is RCT 006. And then on the front here, the RCB Rosecraft blades, and I think that it's just generally a really good looking Barlow. It's a very classic looking Barlow. The sheep foot, I think, has a little bit of a curve to it. It's not a perfectly straight edge like a traditional sheep foot. Also, the swedge is kind of different. You can see how it's just kind of a straight cutoff. It doesn't really go along the top spine at all. So again, I'll show you a comparison to the sheep foot on this TC Barlow. So kind of, again, the same idea that I mentioned with their other knives of being a little bit of like a modernized or just their own take on the pattern, but it's close enough to a true traditional Barlow that I think, it interests someone like me who likes the traditional knives. Now, it's also made really well. So you can see that it's pinned, and these pins are nicely done. They are very flush, no cracks. And then the bolsters into the scales, or I guess the covers into the bolsters, there's no gaps. And that's something where, you do see gaps in that area relatively frequently. I have this knife just sitting here. This is a GEC made knife. And you can see some slight gaps there. But there are no gaps from the covers to the bolsters, which is really nice. It has great action, really nice action. It's pretty much perfectly centered. It sits really deep in the frame, and it does have a stop pin, so you don't have to worry about blade wrap. Also, no gaps on the back spring. So really just a really nicely made knife. And so, you might think this is an expensive knife, but you can see that sticker there. That sticker was on the back of the blade, and oh, you still can see it. So see that kind of shadow on the blade, that oval shadow? That's from that sticker. I think that they would be better off just putting China on the tang stamp. You know, I have a lot of knives from China. China makes great knives. There's a lot of, you know, politics surrounding that people like to talk about, but they definitely can make great knives. And I really don't like that it has that shadow on the blade from that sticker, and the sticker just gives it kind of a cheap feel to me. You know, like you think about all the cheap Chinese knives that come with stickers like that, and just products in general. So I think that they would be better off just putting China on there. I don't think that it would be a huge deal, and I don't know how many people are really confused about that, being that this knife is like $50. So, you know, a comparable GEC or really any American brand is going to be more than that. Maybe not Baron Son, but case knives are more than that. Baron Son knives, you know, aren't known for this type of quality. So it's one of those things where I don't really like that it came with that sticker, but it is a Chinese made knife, and so it's about $50. It's a pretty budget friendly knife, but it is just super well made. I think if you're looking for a really nicely made Barlow for a pretty budget friendly price, then this Beaver Creek Barlow is a good option. Now, I got this from Traditional Pocket Knives. Austin carries Rosecraft blades, and it came with this koozie. I don't really have any need for koozies, to be honest, but it's a cool thing if you do. And then a coin. So I got one of those actually at Blade Show and gave it to my friend who's a fan of Rosecraft blades. But you know, just a nice little package. And I do really like this bolster edge. So I think it's a great knife for the price, super well made. Again, you know, I think a lot of people care about whether it's made in China or not in traditional knives, but it's definitely, there's no question that it's a well-made knife if you can get over the country of origin, which for me, like I say, you know, I've got lots of knives made in China, so it doesn't bother me a whole lot. And this is definitely a very nicely made knife, and I think one of the better budget-friendly options of Barlow's, where you can get it, not spend too much, but still feel like you're really getting a high-quality knife. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, leave any comments you have below. Check out my website, knifethoughts.com, where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos on knives like this. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.